You're about to watch a video on why altcoins are officially less risky than Bitcoin. And that's not an opinion, that is data driven. I'm gonna show you why in this video. But with that being said, I just recorded it and it occurred to me that I need to put a very bold disclaimer at the beginning of the video. Crypto in general is risky, especially on the short term. Any type of headline or news event, something negative could happen. And basically what we've learned over the years is altcoins do not hold up as well as Bitcoin in those environments. So we always need to be on high alert. We always need to manage our risk. This is something that is completely custom and completely unique to each and every one of us. We all have our comfort levels when it comes to risk management in this space and the exposure that we want to allocate into the crypto space. So long story short, please be careful. This data, I think, is incredibly compelling in terms of an altcoin bull market, but at the end of the day, none of us know, none of us have any idea what's going to happen. And please, don't make decisions based on what YouTubers say. I hope this data is valuable at the very least to kind of help with the roadmap for all of us in this crypto cycle. So check this out. What's up, everybody? I am out and about today, kind of working from the car, and I am going through a bunch of different data, macro data. And in this video, I want to lay out for you why I think, and this is just my opinion. You all know I am an altcoin bull, but I also want to just actually preface the video by saying a goal of mine is to, throughout these cycles, accumulate Bitcoin. So if we get a parabolic move in terms of crypto and altcoins, a big part of my plan will be accumulating Bitcoin, especially if we're going to get ready to enter some type of bear market. I want to have that as part of my plan. But with that being said, I want to explain this video why I think Bitcoin is becoming more risky, if not already more risky than altcoins right now on the macro. And that's not something that we can say too often when it comes to these charts. And I'm going to show you real data and just to explain this. And this is unemotional data. So let's kind of dive into the video. I wanted to start with a picture of Bitcoin zoomed out on the weekly. That's what it looks like. We've broken all-time high. Most altcoins haven't, and Bitcoin's looking like it's going to continue in its bull market. Also, take a note of Bitcoin dominance in this video right now. Just years of just upside here. We were waiting for potential for this to start falling. Let's start with the risk model for Bitcoin. This is the Crypto Capital Venture Intelligence Risk Model. And to put it very simply, let's change this to a heat map. The risk score that is given here, right? And you can go all the way back to 2010 and see all the risk scores. You can see the heat map in terms of bull market high, bear market low, which is great area for accumulation. But we're at 53 right now in terms of risk score. So the actionable insight is hold, because historically at this risk level, 53, the price was higher 45% of the time after 3 months and 43% of the time after 1 year. So that's one piece of data, but we keep in mind where we are in the cycle. We keep in mind quantitative tightening coming to an end. We keep in mind things like liquidity from a global perspective increasing, and we keep in mind institutional and governmental adoption of Bitcoin, right? So this is just one data point. But with that being said, the risk score is a proprietary metric. It's ranging from 0 to 100. And that basically just measures the long-term risk for Bitcoin, right? In this case, lower scores indicate less risk, potentially better buying opportunities. So if you just look at the chart, just these, areas of 13, and you can see every bear market, even the color code of this, accumulation. That's what's going on all these charts. But what I want to show you is this. I want to cruise through multiple different altcoins. I'm going to look at ADA, Chainlink, Ethereum, and I want to look at BNB, not because I hold BNB or I'm some BNB bull, but BNB from an altcoin perspective and Ethereum, really all of them, it does a very good job of illustrating my point here of why Bitcoin might be higher risk. Because from a data perspective, it is 53 on Bitcoin at a time where Bitcoin dominance looks to potentially be topping out. But let's cruise over and start with Cardano, because you all know I'm a Cardano bull. And by the way, everybody, we're having a huge sale right now. If you want to get these tools, these risk models, it's 40% off. Just hit the link below. We are absolutely cruising in terms of just the development of this platform and the tools that we're going to be adding. I'm excited because I will be using this. This is my go-to tool for this cycle. So this is Cardano, a 41. That just says it all. 41 risk. Bitcoin 53. But let's dig a little bit deeper into this, right? Here's ADA zoomed out on the daily in terms of where we are in the cycle. And this is actually a nice perspective, because if you've been here across cycles, this is just what happens, right? Even last cycle in terms of altcoins, Bitcoin makes its move towards all-time high, and kind of last cycle, if we actually go look at, well, when was Bitcoin breaking all-time high last cycle, right? Let's go check out a Bitcoin zoomed out chart, and we were breaking all-time high around November 2021, testing that area, or 2020, November 2020. What was ADA doing? ADA was way in November 2020, way away from its all-time high. Altcoins looking terrible. Guess what? This is exactly where we are right now. But if I would have done a video back then at this moment and said Bitcoin is more risky right now than altcoins, I might have been looked at like I'm crazy, because Bitcoin's breaking all-time high and something like ADA was just like failing to even approach all-time high. But look what the risk indicator, the risk model was saying for ADA at that moment, back there, November 2020. I've been diving into this a lot. I'm actually going to do another video soon about ADA. And I think it's a $7 target that I want to talk about as it relates to this risk model. But look what happened. If I would have said back here, hey, ADA is less risky in November 2020 at 43, then Bitcoin, if we go back to Bitcoin last cycle, November 2020, actually look in the 50s, I would have been right. Because at that moment, guess what happened? Altcoins outperformed Bitcoin. So let's dive a little bit deeper into this and look at some other altcoins. This gets kind of crazy. We go look at Chainlink. This is 39. So we just looked at ADA is 41. Chainlink is 39, and it's a very similar thing. If you actually open up the heat map of this, it is just completely cooled down, right? We are sitting at 39, and if you look at the stats of this, historically, at this risk level, 39, the price was higher 67% of the time after 3 months and 74% of the time after 1 year. That data point is clearly better than this one on Bitcoin. Let's continue digging in. 37. So we're kind of tracking down now, and this is a top 2. This is number 1 behind Bitcoin, having a 37. So check out what this means. And I'll just use this one. 3 months. So I'm sorry, 87% of the time it was higher after 1 year. And after 3 months, 41% of the time. So on the macro, this is screaming bullish indicator. Go look at the risk heat map. Ethereum just bottomed out on this risk heat map in a way that it has done so. And the momentum oscillators we've been looking, I think even in yesterday's Ethereum video, exactly the same. Now, look at BNB. This gets crazy. 28. So the price was higher 64% of the time after 3 months at a risk score of 28, and 71% of the time after 1 year. All of these risk models, and there's no guarantee, everybody. These are completely proprietary risk models. They're pulling in a ton of data. I think they're incredibly valuable. I'm very curious to see how this all plays out. But if we're looking at just the data alone and we're putting aside just emotion and guessing, these charts are screaming that altcoin season is approaching. Altcoin bull market is approaching. I want to look at BNB because we just looked at it from a risk model perspective. I want to show you something. Check out where this is. This chart at that risk score being that low is hovering at all-time high area. Look at November 2020 of last cycle. It was doing something very similar. It was testing all-time highs there too. BNB is very interesting. It's not because I'm a BNB bull or I'm owning a ton of BNB, but this is very interesting in that even this specific token is signaling a breakout, is approaching. But here's what's more powerful in terms of this BNB chart. In the November 2020 area, when it was kind of testing that area, we just saw what all the other scores looked like on the other charts before the BNB bull market. We're kind of in a similar area, right? Look at where the RSI was in that moment. Kind of like up here in the 60s, I guess. right now, the RSI just capitulated. This was a record-breaking high fear moment for all of crypto and for traditional markets. BNB is just exiting that. So if you go look at the BNB risk chart and you look at the risk heat map, look at where we are. We're at 28. And we go back to November of 2020, just low 30s. There's 30, right? 29. But the momentum upside, even for BNB, if we just looked at the technical analysis, has even more upside. When you're looking at this data, I don't know about you, but I'm just kind of like, the bull market for cryptos and for altcoins in particular, and that is altcoins to outperform Bitcoin, it seems like it is getting very close. Look at this BNB heat map. That is just years of consolidation and accumulation for what I think is going to lead to a very parabolic bull run for altcoins. What's awesome about this, I can't not mention this, we have our exit planner in this system. Many of you know I've been talking about it a lot. Right now you can set your exits in relation to price mode. And this is kind of just what the screen looks like right when you load it. And you can kind of delete these and come up with your own plan for all of these assets. But risk mode, everything we just discussed is going to be, I mean, this is imminent too. We're getting ready to launch this. But risk mode, you'll be able to use those risk models that we're looking at and set your sells and your exits based on these risk scores. So you'll be able to set your exits for Bitcoin, ADA, Chainlink, whatever, and be like, you know what? I'm going to set my first 10% exit at 68 because studying this chart historically, that seems like a good area to start exiting. And then, you know, basically keep setting your sells and setting your exits on the exit planner via risk mode. It removes all emotion, and it will be very cool to see a price mode strategy, and I'm looking very much forward to doing this, a price mode strategy and then a risk mode strategy, and actually seeing how this plays out this cycle. One thing I know, and this is why I am just adamantly talking about this system, not only because I want you to sign up, I want you on board, but this is my go-to system. This is the tools that I will be using this cycle. And I'm sitting here personally looking at all this data in terms of altcoins, and it is becoming increasingly interesting to me because you all know, even without the introduction of this intelligence system, I've been an altcoin bull. But getting these insights, I think is very helpful, at least to me personally. So if you would like, obviously, it's up to you. If you want to get in on the intelligence systems, join our community, get these tools. We have a ton working, ton in the roadmap. Even with the risk models, you can just see on-chain analysis is planned to be integrated, sentiment analytics, institutional flows is going to be integrated, machine learning. So these models are going to become even more intuitive and I think data-driven and helpful. But yeah, 40% off right now. I am excited, everybody. Let's see how this plays out. Again, nobody knows what's going to happen, but this is, you know, I'm a data-driven person, so it's kind of becoming fun to watch. I know in the short term, there's a lot of volatility. There's so much going on in terms of headlines and narratives. We have to be prepared for every scenario, but these are just my thoughts today in terms of some of these risk models. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe, hit the like. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.